Chuck Carson's back again. Carson Miracles number 92, and still on the topic of experiencing peace. And this one I'm talking about by generosity or through generosity. And to recap, we've talked about in general experiencing peace and why I have this theme. And then we talked a little bit more about choosing God, which a lot of times is choosing, once again, generosity and many things of God that I can mention, and I've touched on some of them. And today I'm touching on generosity. I'm following up the video that I talked about trusting God. So trusting God really comes down to giving God. And giving God, I'm probably not even going to talk other than just to clarify about giving, tithing, income. That's not the part I'm going to talk about here. There is the other generosity, which is giving of what you would receive, which fits perfectly in line with everything we talked about on experiencing peace. Because, for example, and this was a slight part of my message on December 22nd that I shared about experiencing peace. But for example, when you give judgment, attack, anger, fear, anxiety to somebody else by like talking about it, which a lot of people do, and I get it, you need therapeutic listeners, but have you gotten rid of it by talking about it? Maybe a little bit temporary peace, but that's peace of the world. So how to receive peace would be to give it, and that's generosity, right? Generosity is you give and you receive. You give, receive. That's how God's way of doing things works with money, but it really works by choosing God and giving the things of God, and then you receive them. So if you'd like to have more peace, you'd have to give peace. So your conversations, I mentioned a little bit last video, have to have a changing of the mind where you're talking about what you'd like to receive. It eventually becomes more unconscious, but first you have to practice it. We're talking about practicing things, which means you'd have to practice having hope when it seems a little hopeless, right? Or you'd have to practice peace when there's not peace. Or you'd have to practice love when you don't feel like loving. However, as you practice more love, you might feel a little more loving. And like I said last time, it could happen in a holy instant where it happens like, boom, you have it. You experience love. It's possible. So generosity is giving those things you would choose, once again, giving those things of God. And by giving them, you receive them. What you teach, you receive. What you teach, you learn. So you would want to be very generous of your giving of peace, very generous of your giving of love, very generous of your giving of hope, very generous of your giving of joy, very generous of giving patience, very generous of giving encouragement, by giving faithfulness, by giving, think of a word. And by doing that, you're also practicing trust. You start to experience more peace. You are practicing gentleness. And that's generosity when it comes to A Course in Miracles. You give what you'd like to receive. So, question again, why would you like to receive the things that the world gives that you are also probably giving? And I've been there too. Like one of my, not a fear, no longer fear, but one of my slight, aware of my mind is like, how am I going to coach my next basketball game when I've really had a good shift here just in the last couple of weeks? And it's like, how am I going to coach my next basketball practice? How am I going to coach my next basketball game? Because I really need to do it a little bit differently based on these things I'm teaching. Because you can teach them in basketball, you can teach them in school, you can teach them on a video here about Jesus, you could teach them just by walking around and doing whatever you do. So I need to practice them well, but generosity is how you would experience more peace. Give what you'd like to receive. So I get it. Tough things have happened and it's got you down. Or maybe you have hope because it is a new year and you're resetting your goals, you're resetting your outcomes. Choose that you are going to have your greatest year ever. Choose things of God to put on your list of outcomes and then give those out. And trust the process because there's going to be setbacks. That's how life works. you would not be here if you had it all figured out and if you were perfect. You are here to learn, you're here to experience, but you're here to give the things of God through generosity. So do that.